Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Thursday, November 14th, 2024, and you're listening to Alex's News. Today in Riverside, we're looking at a high of 74.9 degrees and a low of 50.8, so it should be a pleasant fall day. Coming up on Alex's News, we'll explore the potential impact of Republicans' congressional sweep on the American landscape. We'll also examine how Trump's proposed tariff policies might affect California's economic outlook. Finally, we'll discuss projections for when global emissions are expected to reach their turning point. Stay tuned for these stories and more on Alex's News. We begin tonight with a major political development. Republicans have secured control of the U.S. House of Representatives, completing their sweep of power alongside President-elect Donald Trump. For more on this story, we're joined by our political correspondent, Ethan. Ethan, what can you tell us about this Republican victory?
Well, Grace, according to reporting from Euronews, Republicans have indeed clinched at least 218 seats in the House of Representatives, giving them the majority. This victory comes on the heels of their earlier win in the Senate, effectively handing the GOP full control of the U.S. government in alignment with President-elect Trump's return to the White House.
This is quite a shift from Trump's first term. How does this new landscape compare to his previous presidency?
You're right, Grace. As Le Monde points out, this is a significant change from Trump's 2016 to 2020 term. Back then, he faced some resistance within his own party. Now, the Republican Party has been thoroughly transformed by Trump's Make America Great Again movement. This means he'll likely face far less opposition from within his own ranks this time around.
What are some of the key implications of this Republican control, Ethan?
There are several major implications, Grace. First and foremost, we can expect a full-throttle implementation of Trump's America First agenda. According to ABC News, this includes plans for what could be the country's largest-ever deportation operation, extending tax breaks, reshaping the U.S. economy, and potentially taking action against political opponents.
That sounds like a pretty ambitious agenda. How does the new House leadership factor into this?
Well, the new House Speaker, Mike Johnson, who was endorsed by Trump, has been quite vocal about his plans. He's vowed to take what he calls a blowtorch to federal government programs and has outlined an ambitious 100-day agenda. This aligns closely with Trump's vision for smaller government and major policy shifts.
We've heard a lot about potential investigations. What can you tell us about that?
That's right, Grace. One of the key areas of focus for the new Republican majority is likely to be investigations into Trump's political opponents. This could include probes into Special Counsel Jack Smith, who has been investigating Trump's actions. It's worth noting that these investigations could have significant political ramifications.
What about Trump's administration? Are there any notable potential appointments we should be aware of?
Absolutely. There's been speculation about several Trump allies potentially taking key positions. For instance, the Associated Press reports that Representative Matt Gaetz is being considered for the role of Attorney General. This appointment, if it happens, would be a clear indication of Trump's intent to surround himself with loyal supporters in his second term.
How stable is this Republican majority, Ethan?
That's an interesting question, Grace. In the House, the Republican majority is quite thin, which could pose some challenges in maintaining control. This is especially true if some members leave for posts in Trump's administrations. However, in the Senate, Republicans have a more comfortable 53-seat majority, which should provide more stability for confirming Trump's cabinet picks and potential Supreme Court justices.
And speaking of the Supreme Court, how does that factor into this new political landscape?
The Supreme Court is a crucial element here, Grace. We already have a conservative-dominated court, including 3 justices appointed by Trump during his first term. This conservative majority on the bench, combined with Republican control of both chambers of Congress, sets the stage for potentially sweeping changes in policy and law.
Thank you, Ethan, for that comprehensive overview of this developing story. We'll be sure to keep our viewers updated as more information becomes available.
My pleasure, Grace. We'll certainly be watching this story closely in the coming days and weeks.
Indeed we will. Thanks again, Ethan. We turn now to a story that could have major implications for California's economy. Former President Donald Trump has proposed new tariffs that some experts say could hit the Golden State particularly hard. Our reporter Chloe has been looking into this story. Chloe, what can you tell us about these proposed tariffs?
Well, Grace, according to reporting from CalMatters and LA NIST, Trump is proposing some significant tariffs that could have far-reaching effects on California's economy. He's suggesting a 10 to 20% tariff on all imports, a whopping 60% on goods from China, and up to 100 to 200% on certain products like cars from Mexico.
Those are substantial numbers, Chloe. How might these tariffs impact California specifically?
California could be especially vulnerable due to its heavy reliance on international trade. The state's major ports, like the Port of Los Angeles and the Port of Long Beach, could see reduced activity and job losses. These ports handle a significant portion of U.S. imports from China and Mexico.
And what about California's agricultural sector? I know it's a major part of the state's economy.
You're right, Grace. California's agricultural industry could be hit hard by potential retaliatory tariffs from countries like China. During Trump's first term, we saw almond prices drop significantly due to Chinese retaliatory tariffs. In fact, ABC News reported that during the 2018 to 2020 U.S.-China trade war, U.S. agricultural exports to China fell by 53% between 2017 and 2018.
That's a substantial drop. Are there any potential benefits to these tariffs for California?
While some California manufacturers, particularly in the lithium battery industry, see potential benefits as tariffs could reduce dependence on Chinese imports, the evidence suggests that any benefits were likely outweighed by the overall negative economic impacts during the previous trade war.
What about the impact on consumers? How might Californians feel these tariffs in their daily lives?
According to economists, including 23 Nobel laureates, these tariffs could lead to higher prices, larger deficits, and greater inequality. Tariffs are essentially a tax that businesses often pass on to consumers. This means Californians could see increased prices for a wide range of products, including cars, technology and electronic products, medical devices, and even groceries.
It sounds like these tariffs could have far-reaching consequences. Is there anything else important our viewers should know about this issue?
Yes, Grace. It's worth noting that the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce has expressed concern about tariffs on goods from Mexico, which could disrupt the multi-billion-dollar supply chain in the Calabaja region. This includes products like the Toyota Tacoma and medical devices. Additionally, Trump's threat of mass deportations could impact California's labor pool, particularly in agriculture.
Thank you, Chloe, for that comprehensive report on this complex issue. We'll certainly be keeping an eye on how this story develops.
You're welcome, Grace. We'll continue to monitor the situation and provide updates as they become available.
Here are some other headlines. Amazon has launched a new online discount storefront called Amazon Haul, offering products priced at $20 or less. This move aims to compete with discount retailers like Shein and Temu. Items will be shipped directly from manufacturers in China, with delivery times of 1 to 2 weeks. The Onion, backed by Sandy Hook victims' families, has won the auction for Alex Jones's InfoWars assets. This comes after Jones lost a $1.4 billion defamation lawsuit for claiming the Sandy Hook massacre was a hoax. Jones plans to file legal challenges to stop the transfer. Ohio's legislature has passed a bill requiring transgender students in public schools to use bathrooms and locker rooms matching their sex assigned at birth. The bill now awaits Governor Mike DeWine's signature. LGBTQ+ advocates strongly oppose the measure, calling it a violation of privacy rights. Families adopting children from Haiti are facing challenges due to escalating gang violence and a 30-day ban on flights to the country. This has left many adoptive parents unable to reach their children, who remain in Haitian orphanages awaiting completion of adoption paperwork. Olympic champion Lindsey Vonn, at 40, is making a comeback to competitive skiing by rejoining the U.S. ski team for the 2024-25 Alpine season. Vonn, who retired in 2019, has recovered from partial knee replacement surgery and aims to compete in World Cup races. We turn now to a critical topic in the fight against climate change. When will global greenhouse gas emissions finally reach their peak? Our environmental correspondent Ethan has been looking into this. Ethan, what's the latest on this crucial issue?
Thanks, Grace. The timing of peak greenhouse gas emissions is indeed a pivotal question, and recent studies suggest we might be on the cusp of this turning point. According to reporting from NPR, after nearly 2 centuries of steady increase, greenhouse gas emissions from fossil fuels may soon reach their peak, possibly as early as 2023 or 2024.
That's sooner than many might expect. What's driving this potential peak, Ethan?
The main factor, Grace, is the rapid growth of renewable energy. NPR reports that the expansion of renewable energy, particularly in China, is playing a significant role. In fact, China accounted for about 60% of new global renewable energy capacity in 2023. Last year, countries deployed almost twice as much renewable energy capacity as the year before.
That's impressive growth. Are there any specific organizations backing up these projections?
Yes, there are. The International Energy Agency, along with analyses by Climate Analytics and Carbon Brief, all indicate the possibility of global greenhouse gas emissions peaking as early as 2023. Climate Analytics goes further, suggesting there's a 70% chance that global emissions could start falling in 2024 if current clean technology growth trends continue.
That sounds promising, but I imagine there are still challenges. What factors could potentially delay this peak?
You're right, Grace. Despite the positive signs, there are several factors that could lead to continued rises in emissions beyond 2025. NPR reports that global emissions are expected to rise by 0.8% in 2024 due to increased energy demand. This demand is driven by economic growth, increased airline and shipping traffic, and the growing use of artificial intelligence.
Interesting. Are there any specific sectors that are particularly concerning?
Absolutely. Sectors like agriculture and heavy industry may continue to see rising emissions. Additionally, non-CO2 emissions, such as methane and hydrofluorocarbons, could continue to grow even if fossil CO2 emissions peak.
Given these challenges, what actions are needed to ensure emissions peak and then decline rapidly?
Several key actions are crucial, Grace. Immediate emissions reductions are necessary, with global greenhouse gas emissions needing to peak before 2025. We also need to see the removal of fossil fuel subsidies, which could reduce emissions by up to 10% by 2030. Electrification, energy efficiency improvements, and the rapid deployment of renewable energy technologies are also vital.
That's quite a list. Are there any international efforts addressing these issues?
Yes, in fact, the ongoing COP29 climate summit in Baku, Azerbaijan, which starts in 10 days, will be a crucial platform for global leaders to discuss emission cuts. A peak in emissions would be a significant sign that these international negotiations are having an impact, though current pledges still fall short of the goal to limit warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels.
It sounds like we're at a critical juncture. Any final thoughts, Ethan?
Absolutely, Grace. While the potential for a peak in greenhouse gas emissions soon is promising, it's important to remember that peaking is only the beginning. As experts like Neil Grant of Climate Analytics and Pierre Friedlingstein of the University of Exeter emphasize, emissions must decline rapidly after peaking to mitigate severe climate impacts and meet global climate goals.
Thank you, Ethan, for that comprehensive update on this crucial environmental issue. We'll certainly be keeping a close eye on developments in the coming months and years.
Thank you, Grace. It's certainly a story we'll continue to follow closely.
Indeed. And that concludes our third and final story for today. Thanks for joining us. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.